Hello everyone, welcome back to Newsroom. I'm Chella Smith. This is your Middle East U.S. entertainment news here on YouTube. I air on Fridays. I bring you the latest on reforms and economics of Iraq based on reports put out by the Middle East news media outlets. I do this weekly review and it's based off my interest. Thank you everyone for joining me. Last week we spoke about Iraq-Kuwait compensation, cash reserves, the Chinese-Iraqi meeting, and the U.S. training. Let's take a look at this week's headlines. Twilight News reports Rafidain Bank announced today that unpatriated citizens have included their salaries on the bank and those wishing to travel outside Iraq by selling the dollar currency. The bank's media office said in a statement today that the bank decided to include all uncounted citizens whose salary is in the bank and who wants to travel outside Iraq who do not have MasterCards by selling dollars and obtaining 10,000 and can visit one of the bank's branches on Palestine Street next to Rusafa. He pointed out that the procedures for financing the sales of dollars are easy through the insurance of MasterCard for citizens wishing to buy dollars and accompanied by the following documents, namely civil status ID or unified card and passport, in addition to housing cards and active mobile numbers. The bank also decided to open its doors on the holiday on Saturday and Sunday to sell the dollars. Economics Alphabet News reports the Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani announces that Iraq is keen to provide Italy with oil and gas. Al-Sudani said in a joint press conference with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni during the visit to Iraq, Iraq's relations with Italy is distinguished and indicates that Italy has a positive role with Iraq, especially in the war against the terrorist Daesh, stressing during the meeting the importance of resuming the holding of joint committees between Iraq and Italy. We are ready for bilateral corporations in all fields, and we are promising plans in the field of oil and gas, Al-Sudani has stressed. He noted that Iraq is keen to provide Italy with oil, pointing to benefiting from Italian experiences in the fields of religious and archaeological tourism. For her part, the Italian Prime Minister said, "We are always with Iraq in the renaissance of development, and I am happy with my first visit to Iraq," stressing that Iraq is a friendly country to Italy. She also added that Iraq is a country that has achieved important steps in the field of security stability. The Italian Prime Minister said, "There is no prosperity in the Middle East without a strong Iraq, and we support the security and stability of Iraq." Meloni continued saying, "We are ready to continue to work with Iraq, and our relationship with Iraq is strong and solid." She also indicated that we are interested in the presence of Italian companies in Iraq, as we have cultural corporations with Iraq, noting that she will visit the Kurdistan region at the end of her visit. Wednesday, the Central Bank of Iraq's cash sales of the U.S. dollar currency increased, exceeding for the first time foreign transfers with the participation of 32 banks. The central bank's windows showed the sales of $126,067,350, which the bank covered at a basic exchange rate of 1460 dinars per dollar. Most of the sales went for the first time in the form of cash sales, amounting to $63,070,000, while the rest went to strengthening balances abroad, remittances, credits amounting to $62,997,350. The number of banks that bought cash dollars reached 18 banks, while the number of banks that responded to the request to strengthening balance abroad reached 14 banks, while the total number of exchange and mediation companies that participated in the auctions was 186 companies. YesIraq.com reports Iraq continues to rise its holdings of U.S. bonds monthly, taking advantage of the rise in oil prices and the accommodations of its hard currency reserves, at a time when Iraq aims to benefit from the interest granted by the U.S.Federal reserves on bonds, which may exceed 4%, and while Iraq's possession of bonds amounted to 36 $2.9 billion last September, up by 3.65% compared to August. To be the fourth largest Arab country after Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the UAE in possession of U.S. bonds. The data of last October came to show an increase in Iraq's possession of bonds with a value of more than $1 billion. In the latest table of U.S. Treasury, it was stated that Iraq rose one place to reach the 31st rank among the countries with the largest possession of U.S. Treasury bonds. Of the 38 countries, including the table among the countries with the possessions of more than $30 billion. She added, Iraq's possession of these bonds amounted to $37,968 billion for the month of October, an increase of 2.71% over September of 2022, an increase of 85.78% over the same month of last year, 2021. She also pointed out that Iraq was fourth largest Arab country after Saudi Arabia and the Emirates and Kuwait, while Japan came in top of the countries with the largest possession of these bonds, followed by China second and the United Kingdom third. Noting that the total bonds of the countries of the world amounted to $7,185 billion. Accordingly, Iraq owns 0.5% of total bonds sold around the world, which are owned by other countries. And while the central bank announces that its reserves of hard currencies exceeded $90 billion, this means that more than 42% of Iraq's reserves have been converted into U.S. bonds. The interest rate of U.S. bonds is more than 4%, which means that Iraq can earn interest on these bonds in the amount of more than $1.5 billion in interest from the U.S. Treasury. Baghdad Magazine News reports Kuwait's prime minister confirms Tuesday that the international community is interested in the stability of Iraq. Al-Sabah says in a speech during the second Baghdad Conference for Cooperation and Partnership, which was held in the Jordanian capital, Amman, and in that Arab countries realize Iraq's status is important, noting that the Arab countries seek to restore Iraq's active role in the region. He points out that the electrical interconnection agreement with Iraq is an example of striving to restore its role and importance, noting that the striving to support Iraq in all fields and the security of the two countries is indivisible. He continued, the visit from the Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani to Kuwait is clear indication of keenness to developing relations. And the work of the second Baghdad summit was launched in the Jordanian capital, Amman, with the participation of the Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani. Baghdad Magazine News reports the special representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations in Iraq, Janine Plasheret, confirms today that Iraq has an excellent opportunity for rapid progress towards development. As the end of the year approaches, she says, we usually evaluate the events of the past year and what has been achieved in it as we look forward and think about what we hope to do better in the coming years. Also saying there is no denying that 2022 was a difficult year for Iraq, but as the year drew to a close, government institutions were able to resume their duties, giving Iraq a great opportunity to embark on the paths of stability and progress. She pointed out that the country, with its rich cultures, ethnics, and religious heritage, as well as its geography and untapped resources, has great potential, and it's supported by political stability and sustainable revenues. And if opportunities are already seized, then Iraq has an excellent opportunity for rapid progress towards sustainable development, and in this case, the future. A promise awaits the Iraqi people who have overcome many adversities. And she concluded by saying, on the behalf of the entire United Nations family, I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year of peace and wellness. And you've been watching Newsroom Weekly Review. I'm Chella Smith, your Middle East U.S. entertainment news on reforms and economics Iraq, bringing you the latest dinar news without having to keep up with all the different outlets. I'm here on YouTube every Friday, so don't forget to subscribe and turn those notification bells on. If you like my content, give me a thumbs up. If you really like my content, you can always leave a super thanks. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. The true meaning of Christmas is about love. I hope everyone is de-stressed and spending quality time gathering around your cozy dining tables during the holiday season, celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. Again, thank you for being a subscriber, and thank you for visiting Newsroom Chella Smith for your trusted dinar source. Happy holidays and take care.